Yeah, it's about $1,500 to $1,800 a month to live on a beautiful island in Thailand. Number one, the beautiful beaches, and also delicious food. And then also number three is the friendly people. I had just finished a motorbike trip, and I was going through Tinder, and she popped right up. Long story short, that's why I moved to Thailand. And then I just did whatever it took to stay in Thailand because I just feel much happier there. I've run out of money a bunch of times in Thailand. It's not for everyone. Even better if you can have a remote job lined up or something you can do online. That just, that checks all the boxes. Bought a condo in Samui. It's like almost $1 million. It feels cooped up, and it's a little bit hard to leave the island. They do have the international airport, but the flights can be a bit expensive. Overdevelopment is an issue for sure. And then also just the number of tourists coming to the island, getting more and more busy, and also cost of living is going up.
I think of Samui as one of those places where it's really become a brand or a destination of its own, even before the whole White Lotus thing is now happening.
Sure. I'm partially to blame for that, I will say, because I've been posting a lot, mostly on Facebook, and including the YouTube channel. And it's just getting, millions and millions of views every single month.
Hey, I'm Evan.
Mike.
Nice to meet you, man. Introduce yourself. Let me know a little about you.
Okay, so yeah, my name's Mike. Been living in Thailand for 5 years now. Originally from the US, Austin, Texas. I really kind of just took off for Bali in 2019 and then haven't returned since I left.
Nice.
Long story short.
I remember here in Vietnam, we started hearing about pandemic things around November, December 2019. When you took off, did you know that was about to hit?
No, I had no idea whatsoever. That's actually the month I left was November 2000.
So you didn't know the pandemic was coming?
No idea. I don't think any of us did we? I mean, anybody know this?
No, but I mean depending on when you left, right?
Yeah, so that was November 2019. I bought that one-way ticket to Bali. I've been wanting to visit Bali for a long time because I saw it as like an up-and-coming digital nomad destination.
Yeah, I remember. What's the Canadian guy who's there? He does like a creator school, and he was one of the first big
Lost
LeBlanc, man. I remember whenever I first got, and he's young too, but when I first got into YouTube, him, Casey, 10 years ago, right? He's been around for a long time. So you were actively thinking about doing the creator thing, relocating?
Pretty much, yeah. That was I hadn't launched my YouTube channel at that point. Shortly after I left Bali that I launched the channel when I got to Thailand.
Nice.
This was around early 2020.
When did you relocate to Samui or to Thailand?
That was so I visited for the first time in around March 2020, I believe. Something around then. So I was basically just traveling all over Thailand and found myself going to Samui for the first time.
That was that was when lockdown and things really started to shake out.
Yeah,
right?
That was in the very, very beginning phases of the pandemic.
Okay, and I like that. So you're bold. You're I'm not going to go home. No? I'm looking for. Okay, nice.
And in it to win it.
You're on Samui. You have a Thai partner.
Thai partner. Yeah, we've been together 4 years. Met online, similar to you were saying with your wife, and been together ever since. She's still there while I'm here. She has to work at the school.
We have that we have visa troubles too, my wife and I. Not in Southeast Asia, but often if we are talking about traveling or trip planning elsewhere, that happens.
I've heard that it can be quite challenging to stay here long term in Vietnam. You have to do the border runs every 90 days?
Yeah, I don't because I had a temporary resident card first through work and now through as a spouse.
Okay. Oh, excellent.
It's actually one of the biggest myths I want to dispel. That is what you're doing if you're a tourist, but even though there's investor visas.
Oh.
Which is kind of it's not called a retirement, but that's, sort of the Malaysia game plan. That's the clear path.
Yeah.
If you really are serious about retiring here.
But you can't own land. Citizenship though, right?
No,
you can't own land here.
No, you can't own land. You get you get a resident card. It's depending on how much you invest, 3 to 5 years. Okay. So one of those you see, there's an enormous number of Korean and then somewhat lesser Japanese and Taiwanese expats here. And that's what they do. They'll come here, invest money, open businesses, and then stay forever. And it's completely available to Westerners too. It's just not done as an option.
I had no idea that even existed.
Yeah, I have a sort of deeper breakdown in my last monthly Q&A on which I post on like members only and Patreon for that sort of like in-depth stuff. Let's dive right into your cost of living abroad.
Sure.
What do you spend breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and your sort of every day, and then for the month?
So you say you discovered me through my interview on Retire Working For You. That was about 2 years ago.
I think so, yeah.
So back then I was living on, that was 2 years ago, so about $1,000 a month. And key point was that was for both me and my fiance.
Yeah.
So two people, very cheap. But now obviously the costs have risen and they're continuing to creep up. There's more tourists coming to Samui. So now I'd say on average monthly I spend about 50,000 a month.
50,000 baht.
50,000 baht. So in dollars that's $1,500 a month, roughly. Give or take,
roughly
sometimes more, sometimes less.
Okay, so in 2 years your cost of living has gone up 50%.
Roughly, yeah. And I've also upgraded my house a little bit, so moved into a new place.
So that's
these sorts of things.
Yeah, my cost of living has gone up as I've like become first a couple and then a family.
Sure.
But it's still relative. Well, I guess just wait a second.
And I know the cost of living here is about 30 to 40% cheaper compared to a place like Samui.
Yeah, I would guess.
Thank you.
I would guess that the cost of living in Samui is pretty parallel to the cost of living in sort of an expat suburb in Ho Chi Minh. The part of Ho Chi Minh I was living into, it's very close to Bangkok. It's probably cheaper for like your food and your dailies, but it's actually more expensive for rent in some of those places. The housing costs and property costs, especially in the cities in Vietnam, have skyrocketed.
Really? Ooh. I still have not been to Ho Chi Minh, only Hanoi, before going up to Hai Giang Loop.
Ho Chi Minh's a great expat city if you're living or starting a business. Hanoi is a much better tourist and visitor-friendly city if you're looking for like a short-termer.
Although I will point out that when I was there, the pollution was horrendous.
It is.
Like nothing I've ever seen. It was like 290.
Yeah, so if it's rice
buildings.
burning season, here too, in Hoi An a few months a year during rice burning season. But
It's
yeah,
just something you got to deal with, man.
yeah, I mean, Bangkok, Hanoi, Ho Chi Minh. I think Hanoi is the worst, but they're all pretty comparable.
Now also Chiang Mai is burning season, so
Yeah.
it's getting way up. It's
Same-
like number
same
2
thing.
or 3 now.
Walk me through what do you have in breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What do you and your wife or girlfriend?
Fiance. We're
Fiance,
engaged,
okay.
So not yet
I'll hold
married.
off my congratulations.
Soon.
What do you like to
Thank
eat
you.
in a day? Are you eating out? Are you cooking at home? Mixture of both?
So yeah, we do a mixture of both. She's a really good cook, so she'll cook a lot of Thai meals, which is just a good way to save on going out, because going out to eat all the time gets a bit expensive. But generally, like, we go out to eat maybe 5 or 6 times a week. So pretty often.
So what's a weekly grocery bill look like?
Groceries, honestly, we don't really go to the grocery store all that often. Occasionally, maybe once a week, we'll go to the grocery store, and that'll typically run around 2,000 baht. 2,000 baht a week. So that's about $60 US.
About $60 US. Okay, so it's about $30 is about 1,000 baht. Okay,
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so $60. That's pretty decent.
And that provides for the entire week, cooking.
For 2 people.
Cooking at home.
For 2 people. So the equivalent would be about 1,000 baht for a per person for a weekly grocery bill.
I don't really do any cooking. She's always the one cooking. Pretty lucky there. And I love Thai food too, so it's just like amazing.
I talked when Will Travels is on, we talked about the direct like Thai food versus Viet food comparison, which I think it's neck and neck. They're different cuisines, but Will said 51% Thailand, 49% Vietnam, and I could be right.
That's pretty even balance.
Yeah.
I would
think
say
Viet
more
food's
like
healthy.
70-30.
70-30 Thai food?
70-30 on Thai food.
What's your favorite dish that your wife cooks?
Oh, she cooks a pad see ew. So I don't know why it has ew in the name, because it's delicious. Pad see ew is pretty good. And then Penang chicken, I really like, with rice.
I love everything about Penang.
Spicy.
Yeah, especially the Penang curry and the chicken. That's a lovely place too.
I went to this restaurant called Firefly last night, which is close to Old Town. I don't know if you've been there.
No.
You might want to check it out. They have chicken curry with rice there. It's excellent.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Okay, so $60 groceries, 5 to 6 times a week you're going out, so almost every day. What's the
Pretty much.
the meal you what's the difference between your sort of like your casual meal out, the cost of that versus the like, date night out?
Yeah. So you're going off the questioning Chris asked as well.
Is it? Did he?
He asked some of these questions.
I feel like the reality is they're The questions are always kind of the same. Hopefully, that's exactly why I started doing the interviews, because the answer is always the same, right? The answer changes, but the question itself for the cost of living. Actually, this is a slight digression. There used to be a great blog series on I think it was called Refinery 21. And it was called Money Diaries, and it was a weekly Money Diary series. It happened to be for young professional women.
Oh, wow.
But that one for me was a big inspiration, where I thought, oh, if I could figure out a way to, because I just found them so engaging.
Yeah, and you've really cut your costs by coming here. You're originally from Canada, right? Where in Canada?
I'm from Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, it's super expensive.
Never been.
You don't have to go. It's
just
so
Vancouver, Calgary.
Yeah, I lived in Calgary.
That's about it.
Yeah. I actually lived in Calgary for a few years, basically because of cost of living reasons. And then
it's cheaper cost of living there, but now
now it's probably up
I'm
to
sure it's
but 10 years ago it was still significantly lower than Vancouver or Toronto.
So see, what were you asking?
Yeah, we'll just go back on track. So
Coffee.
What's the cost, sort of casual meal out for you and your partner versus the cost of your fancy night out or your...
Sure. So casual night out could be anywhere just 150 to 200 baht for both of us. So that's just going out to a local, nothing special restaurant in town or something.
It's $5 or $6?
It's about $10 at the, 300 baht is $10, so $6, yeah. $6 to $7 versus, going out for a date night, maybe going to Italian restaurant, getting some pizza, spaghetti, something along these lines. That could be 500, 600 baht. $15 to $18.
Yeah. I mean, still extremely affordable.
Very affordable.
Still extremely affordable
exactly.
By any sort of...
Maybe mix in some drinks too.
Yeah, so it's interesting, because I think of Samui as one of those places where it's really become a brand or a destination of its own, even before the whole White Lotus thing is now happening. Sure. I went...
I'm partially to blame for that, I will say, because I've been posting a lot, mostly on Facebook, and including the YouTube channel. And it's just getting, millions and millions of views every single month.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's both good and bad. More tourists coming, there's a lot of, it's getting overdeveloped now. There's so much construction, always building new villas, destroying the nature.
I haven't been since 2011.
Oh wow, a long time.
Almost 15 years.
Ooh.
On my first sort of trip through Southeast Asia, I have not been back to Samui. I went at that time. Yeah, I did we just spent a night in Samui to catch the boat to a Koh full moon kind of jag. It was my original backpacker, Khao San Road, overnight bus to Samui, party, up to the most stereotypical banana pancake trail backpacker thing. But I do remember...
Long time ago.
Very long time ago. But, it was quite developed then. I'd say even then it was significantly more developed than most parts of Vietnam. You should see it
now, though. It's just getting to be a bit too much.
Yeah.
It's a little sad to see, actually. There's another YouTuber, Ride with Gabby. I don't know if you follow him. No. He just made a video about the beginning of the end for Samui, how it can be turned into another Phuket because of all the overdevelopment. You got to take the good with the best. It's still a beautiful island.
Thailand does have a history, though, when something reaches a tipping point, completely shutting it down. So one of the things that brought me to this region originally, northern Vietnam in particular, was rock climbing.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day, I think I'm old enough to officially say back in the day. Back in the day, Chiang Mai had a huge butte called either Kicking Horse or Crazy Horse. I think it was the Crazy Horse, and a massive crag, hundreds of routes, world famous. And it got, like some of the beaches in Thailand, this is going back to that, Alex Garland, the beach novel sort of era.
And they shut it down.
And they completely shut it down. Just closed. Just from a massive, must have been pulling in tens of millions of dollars or more a year for Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
And then just boom, done overnight. You're ruining nature. We're going to take it. And I think that's, at the time there's huge sort of blog room chat, sort of message board backlash. But in hindsight, that's fantastic. That's what countries need to do if they want to.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, sure. It's definitely good for the economy and all these things.
Yeah. Okay,
and
we're getting...
People need places to live.
Way off it. But that's a good thing. That's why I'm doing the full interviews on one channel, and then...
I'm a bit ADD, so,
Okay. Total food and beverage costs per month between the $60 groceries and the 5 or 6 meals out, what's your number?
I'd say about 10,000 baht.
10,000 baht
per month.
It's about $300 US.
Roughly $300, yeah.
And
that includes everything for 2 people, yeah. Key point right there.
Okay, so that's really good. And you know, I think that's comparable to here. So Thailand sometimes gets a rep as being more expensive than Vietnam. For a couple that includes one expat, or you know, any couple that's doing some mix of local and Western food, I think you'd be hard pressed to go under $300 a month here.
For a couple. I mostly just find myself eating a lot of pho soup while I'm here, like every single meal almost.
We got to introduce you to Mui Quang, Bun Cha, Bun Ka. There's a whole variety of noodle soups.
I do like the Quang noodles as well.
All right, so what's the nightlife like for you and your fiance and Samui?
Nightlife really not too active. We pretty much just stay at home and Netflix and chill a lot of nights. So we're not really going out partying, drinking excessive amounts. Pretty much just kind of homebodies, to be honest.
I mean, I can relate to that as having 2 little kids. Let's use that to segue into the monthly subscriptions. So what's your cost for the Netflix, for maybe VPNs you have, you know, if you're subscribing to newspapers or Patreon or any of those monthly ticks, you get things to create your videos and your content.
Yeah, that too also. So I use CapCut for all my editing, which is owned by TikTok. So that one's I think it's about 300 baht per month, so $10 a month. And Netflix is, I think it's like $15 a month. And I also have HBO now because I have been watching the White Lotus HBO series. That one's like $20 a month. Actually, $10 a month. So $10 a month for
about
HBO.
$35 for sort of media stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I have other tools, like I use a VPN, Bitdefender for my VPN.
Nice.
That one's like $35 a year. Very affordable.
I got to change. NordVPN charged me $100 yesterday for my annual subscription.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That's too much.
I got to ditch them. Yeah, I saw it. It was it hit me, and I was like, "Whoa, NordVPN, your affiliate program's not even that good."
And Bitdefender's better. I pretty much guarantee it.
Oh.
They have a VPN and then also the firewall antivirus too.
Okay, so that's just like $3 a month.
Something like that. It's very cheap.
You're up to around $38 a month in subscriptions. Is there any other ones you can think of? Are you a Spotify or YouTube Premium guy? Or?
I also have YouTube Premium, of course, because I hate watching commercials during my viewing sessions. So that one's about I think it's like $12 a month.
$12, yeah. Again,
totally worth it.
Depends where you access from your VPN too, right?
Sure. Good
okay,
point.
So you're cruising in on $50 a month in subscriptions. Nice. Is there anything?
And then also Meta Verified, so that's the blue check mark on Facebook.
How much does that cost?
That's about $10 a month.
Wow, $55 a month. The cost of
adding up.
The cost of business as a nomad. One of my biggest ones I do now is I do Notion Team, which I think I'm going to ditch. It's about $20 a month. Canva, the Canva team.
Oh, Canva, yeah.
It's another 20. Do you do Canva too?
I had Canva Pro, but I don't really use it that much, and they keep charging me, so I just finally canceled.
Good for you.
I'm like, please stop charging me for this.
I use it for all the thumbnails, but it's quite expensive.
It is. And you don't actually need Pro for the thumbnails unless you're using something with a watermark a lot of times.
I use the AI a lot.
Use transparent, make things transparent.
Yeah. I use the AI a lot. But I could use AI somewhere and bring it else in.
It's worth it then for you.
Okay, so $55 a month in subscriptions. That's a real bin. What about real life, person-to-person outdoor subscriptions? Do you go to a gym? Do you pay for yoga sessions?
So actually, I should be going to yoga, but I haven't been to yoga for years. Even though there's a really a famous yoga studio in Samui called Vakasa. They have some pretty attractive instructors there too, but I just never go. It's got a beautiful view from there. But usually I just go to for the gym membership. I actually don't have a gym membership. There happens to be this gym on a little fishing island in Samui with an incredible view. It's open air. They've recently renovated the place. So I just use that, and you leave a donation, any amount you want, 20, 40 baht.
That sounds good.
Equipment's not great, but what do you expect? It's basically a free gym.
I mean, I try and work out primarily on the calisthenic stuff at the beach here now, right? It's so beautiful in Da Nang and Hoi An. Try and just do outdoor workouts.
That's good too. Also, I love going for walks on the beach. It's a great way to start the morning. go for a walk on the beach. It's very meditative.
I used to do a lot of running and jogging in a meditative way, and then I slowed down after I had 2 knee surgeries from the rock climbing.
Oh no.
So now I jog a bit, but mostly walks too. Speaking of which, another segue. What about health insurance or health costs? Do you do medical costs, health insurance?
I did have Safety Wing. I was using Safety Wing for about a year, and currently I do not use health insurance, but I should be doing that.
And what do you, if you averaged out a cost for your medical costs of whatever, you know, sort of visiting the dentist, the doctor, etc., pharmacy costs, how much do you spend roughly a month or a year?
Dentist, I rarely go to the dentist unless absolutely necessary. Like about a year ago, I had a chip in my front tooth, so I had to go get that grinded down. But that was, I think that was like 3,000 baht. And as far as the doctor is concerned, I don't really go to the doctor that often either because I'm still relatively young and healthy. So that's a very, very small cost, I would say.
Yeah, so if we said it was 3,000 baht a year, say, 90 bucks divided by 12, you're talking about maybe $10 a month or something.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, something like that.
I did go into a Bangkok hospital recently for a full checkup. They were running some special promotion, and that was like 1,900 baht. So
$60?
Just under $60.
Yeah, so I mean, even say you do that, say you do a dental.
It's one of the best hospitals in Thailand.
A dental and a medical check once a year, 150 bucks. You're talking about, $12 a month. Sure, we'll add $12 to your total, just cause.
Okay,
we gotta
sounds
keep.
good.
I like popping up graphics. I like to pop up the numbers. $12 a month. What about utilities, electricity, water, Wi-Fi, data package on your phone, all that stuff?
Yeah, sure. So we just moved into a new house. It's slightly bigger than the old one, and it's brand new. So for electricity, like cooling, we don't have no heating, of course, because it's very, very hot in Thailand usually. So air conditioner, we got one air conditioner, and comes out to around 1,600 a month, 1,600 baht for a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. And water is essentially free. So it's like 20 baht a month, something like that. And we also have a deep well on the property, so we can basically just take out the water from the ground.
Beautiful. Natural purifier.
That's it.
And what about the Wi-Fi phone package?
Wi-Fi, 500 baht a month, and it's around 500 megabits per second. So it's pretty damn fast.
Yeah, good Wi-Fi infrastructure.
Yeah. That's, we use, forget the name of the company.
That's okay.
AIS.
Is your phone tied into that? Is your phone an additional?
Yeah, so phone's additional. I spend 200 baht per month for the mobile data plan through AIS.
Okay.
So it's like $7 a month, roughly. And that usually gets me through the entire month. And I'm not really making all that many calls on a monthly basis.
No,
just mostly for texting.
Wi-Fi calls, if anything.
Wi-Fi.
1,500, 500, 700, 2,700 baht is like, what's that? That's under $100.
Under
right?
$100.
About $85.
That's right.
$85 a month, utilities all in.
And in the US, that would be just for the mobile data plan, not including internet. Internet would be like an additional $200 a month or something.
In
Outrageous.
Canada, yeah. There's about 2 or 3 companies, but it's like an oligarchy that functions as a monopoly in Canada because they're price fixing. Like it's insane. The banks are the same.
That's the direction we're headed in America now too, with Musk. But let's not get into that.
No, we won't. That's why we left, bro.
Can't handle it anymore.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Cheers to that. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. And the other questions, we'll get more into the quality of life.
Yeah.
Start with the cost of living and then get into the quality of life stuff.
Okay, cool.
So what about transportation costs? Do you have a motorbike, a car?
Yeah, so we were renting a motorbike for a long time, 2 years, I think.
Okay.
But that was adding up, and we weren't actually investing into owning something, the motorbike. So about a year and a half ago, through my fiancée, she's Thai. So it's very easy for her to finance automobiles or whatever.
Yep.
So we just decided to finance a Honda Click, and that's like $2,500 a month now for a brand new bike. And we're actually paying it off every single month.
And $2,500 is about $75.
Roughly, yeah.
Is gas a real cost there or no?
It's a cost, but it's not a significant chunk.
Yeah.
Say maybe monthly 3,000 baht a month for gas, and I drive a lot.
It's a fairly big island, right?
It is.
I remember taking a pretty close, maybe an hour-long road trip or something the one time I was there.
And they just have a ring road that goes around the entire island. Pretty good infrastructure as well. I'd say it's about half the size of Phuket in terms of land.
Awesome. $75 a month, transportation all in.
Yeah.
What about travel or visa related costs? You can do them separate or together. For a lot of people, they end up being the same cost. So
for the visas, I'm currently doing the visas, which I maybe shouldn't get into, but
yeah. Okay. So let's dive right back into the visa explanation.
Yeah,
Sorry
sure.
to have interrupted.
So I don't want to get into too much detail about this, but I am currently still on visa exemption. So basically that will allow you to stay for 60 days. They are going to be rolling that back, I think starting May 1st. Might be good for your viewers to know. They're going to reduce it from 60 down to 30 days, I believe starting on May 1st, the visa exemption. If you're coming to Thailand and you're in one of those however many countries, you're most likely going to get 30 days starting May 1st.
So are you doing bi-monthly visa runs?
So right now I'm doing the 60 days plus 30, so I can just go to immigration and extend that an additional 30 days for 1,900 baht. Then I have to do the border run.
Okay, and
down to Malaysia.
Down to Kuala Lumpur, or you fly or?
No, we actually just do, it's like a 6-hour border run to Malaysia. I use a visa agent.
And take a bus.
Yeah, they're just, people get on the bus, and that way you're pretty much guaranteed, they're guaranteed to get you back in.
Right.
And then you just have to pay a little bit extra for that. So I think total for the border runs is like 3,900 baht. So total...
almost 6,000 baht.
6,000 baht every 3 months.
Wow, that's a huge cost.
It is a big expense.
That's interesting because...
So...
oh, wow. What is that in USD? That's
$200. $200 every 3 months.
Very close to $200 US.
For the border run plus the extension. Which is, I'm getting really tired of it at this point. I've been doing this for maybe a year now.
It's $800. It's $800 a year.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh,
sounds about right.
Oh my goodness.
So now, one of the reasons I came to Vietnam, not only for Nomad Fest, which maybe I'll mention later, but also because I've applied for my DTV visa, which is the Destination Thailand visa. You probably know about it already. That's a 5-year, essentially digital nomad visa. And then you leave every 6 months, maybe take a trip. I could come to Vietnam, or I could go to Japan or whatever, any number of places, and then just do that every 6 months. And that really solves the headaches of doing these border runs.
Yeah, I think
it's getting very annoying.
And I think do you have a full explainer video on the DTV?
I do. I was actually one of the first YouTubers to make a video about it.
I've definitely watched your video on that,
cool.
So I'll link that below too.
Excellent.
To Mike Abroad's YouTube channel, and you can watch the full, thorough DTV Thailand visa explanation on his channel.
Yep. And I will say that actually the first time I applied, my application was rejected, and I did that in Hanoi, at the consulate in Hanoi. And basically I just made one small typo on my application, and it was rejected within 2 days. Non-refundable, so you don't get the money back.
How much is the cost?
$340.
It's expensive application, but it's 5 years?
It's a 5-year visa.
So it ends up being less than $70 a year.
So it's still very affordable. So then I basically just reapplied. I sucked it up. I paid the cost again. And that one is getting very close. I've only got like another 3 more days here in Vietnam. So hopefully.
Good luck. I'm sure it'll work out. What's the income requirement, or what's the?
It's 500,000 baht. So that's roughly $16,000.
Oh, that's.
Luckily, I was able to get access to the funds. Just put it into a Wise account. You have to upload a bunch of documents, including proof of funds.
It's not an annual income like a digital nomad visa in Europe. It's a chunk of money in the bank.
That's right.
Like Malaysia.
It's similar to like a retirement visa.
Right.
You just need to show the proof of funds in the bank. That's like the number one thing they're looking for.
Okay.
And then you also need to register your company. So basically just registered a company in the States, in Wyoming. Uploaded that, and then they just need to see like salary payment slips too. YouTube and Facebook, for example.
Have you looked into a new tax service, I think primarily for Americans? I think it's called like Nomad Savvy. I've seen people pumping it.
I have heard about this. I've heard about it.
Yeah. So this is an American-only thing. It's not a Canadian thing, but it's basically, it creates like a domicile for you in Florida. So essentially you become a Floridian where there's no income tax, right?
And you really?
Yeah, it's the whole thing. I want to look into their affiliate program. Maybe by the time you watch this, we'll be able to put an affiliate link below.
Yeah, sure. Shout out for Nomad Savvy.
Yeah, I think
I
it's
haven't
called
actually used them. But
Nomad Savvy. I haven't either, but I've heard some good word of mouth reviews.
I think there's this guy, Josie the Nomad.
Yeah,
In Da Nang, he's mentioned him.
You just talked about using Wise.
Yes.
I use Wise constantly.
I love Wise.
I'm a big referrer of Wise.
Uh-huh.
My most popular video just happened, I didn't know it was going to do so well, obviously. You never do.
Yeah.
And I literally have a direct pitch for Wise in it.
Oh.
Which is great. A lot of Americans comment that Americans specifically can't use a Wise card in Vietnam.
Well, I actually have.
You're an American in Vietnam with a Wise card right now.
I have a Wise card right here.
Yeah, dude, I do too.
But I can't use it for anything. Even in Thailand, if I scan with this, it doesn't work.
Okay, so that's interesting because I use this card everywhere, and everyone's going to think this is a pitch. So it is. I'll put the affiliate link below, but apparently not for Americans.
Really?
So yours doesn't work.
I can't use it anywhere. Even if I try to hook it up to like Google Pay.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I can't hook it up there either to scan with my phone.
Yeah, so I have mine with Google Pay. I tap.
It works for my friend Bill, the Canadian guy. I went on the.
Yeah, it works for Canadians for sure, but not
works for him, but it doesn't work for me.
Oh, that's so disappointing. So what do you use as an alternative? Do you use Revolut or Reap or something like that?
I've heard of Revolut, but I don't have a card. I have a PayPal card as well, but I can't use that either. So I just have a Thai bank account.
You have a Thai bank account.
And I use the Thai bank account for everything.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Hopefully that's a helpful conversation for everyone watching. And then let's wrap it up. What's the total monthly spend and budget for you and your Thai fiance in Koh Samui 2025?
So on a monthly basis, we spend around anywhere from around 50,000 to 60,000 baht a month. There's a little bit of wiggle room there, but generally speaking, yeah, it's about $1,500 to $1,800 a month to live on a beautiful island in Thailand.
Now we'll jump into the more quality of life talk and sort of the broader, emotional, social costs of living abroad. But I would say, even if you can find somewhere, and there are places where you can live on $1,000 or less a month, and it's part of the SEO and YouTube, and it's real here in Da Nang and Hoi An.
Sure, I would think so.
I would still, and I do, if I talk to people who are consultants, I still strongly suggest you have at least a couple thousand a month of income, which could be a pension, could be something else. But if you're at a point where you have less than a few $1,000s coming in a month, you probably need to work on that before you relocate.
Yeah, I mean, I was in that position for quite some time, right? I was just barely scraping by and getting up my online income going. But now, luckily, it's to a level where I feel pretty comfortable. Could be even better, obviously. Always can be. I would recommend, before you take off and you just move abroad, have a little bit of saving.
Yeah.
That's one of the mistakes that I made.
I only had 5,000, which 5,000 Canadian too, which at the time was closer to parity, but it's about 3,500 bucks US. I only had that much when I moved to Saigon. I had a job, a contract signed at a school, and a job sponsoring me to come over. So they were paying for flights, medical insurance. They gave me a SIM card.
Wow.
And they helped pay for the original 12-month visa or whatever, right? So
that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, and I think either of those positions, right? Either finances as security or guaranteed income in the place you're arriving as security.
Yeah.
But I do think the biggest recommendation for you is make sure you have
a nest egg.
Yeah, or have more coming in than what you know is going to be going out, right?
Sure. Yep, that's a good point.
Awesome. Okay, so
never hurts to invest too.
I get some dividends going, yeah. So what do you think? You're a Texan originally?
Originally from Michigan. I grew up in
Canadian.
Lansing, very close to Canada. Right? But then it's way too cold there, so after I graduated from college, I moved down to Austin, Texas. So I lived in Austin for around 6-7 years now. Actually, before our meeting, my friend is there now. He's originally from Russia. I met him in Samui. Now he works for Apple in Cupertino.
Oh, yeah.
He told me he was passing through Austin. He said, boy, what a shithole.
Really?
Yeah. He said, this place is a shithole. And I'm like, well, have you been downtown? And there's still a lot of homeless people everywhere, drugs, or what? And he said, no, just up by the airport, there's a lot of ugly buildings everywhere. That's what he told me.
Interesting.
Maybe don't put that in the interview.
Yeah, we'll see. And it'll go on the full interview, you'll say, but not in the cuts or the shorter cuts. But I was in Austin.
You can take that out.
In 2009, right after the crash, which is when I unfortunately graduated from college, I thought it's pretty beautiful. It's known as a sort of liberal college town for Texas, and it's
blue dot in a sea of red.
Yeah, and it's a nice spot, very athletic, a lot of outdoorsiness, a lot of good things happening.
They got the green belt, so you can go cycling, running around the river. I did like that a lot.
Why did you leave there for Thailand and for Bali, right? What was the driving force to live abroad?
To be honest, it was very accidental. I was planning on just going to Bali for 1 or 2 months. That turned into 5 years. I was in Bali for 2 months. My visa expired, so I went to Singapore for a couple weeks just because I wanted to go there. And I realized that Singapore is just way too expensive. Like even to get a basic hotel there is $300 a night. So I'm like, I don't think this is gonna work. So I just picked Phuket, Thailand out on a map and flew into Phuket. And that was, shortly before the pandemic. And then I just did whatever it took to stay in Thailand because I just feel much happier there. Just like more of a sense of belonging and peace in my life. I like the culture a lot better. It's mostly Buddhist. Long story short, that's why I moved to Thailand.
Did the cost of living come into play?
Cost of living for sure.
If it's originally you're $1,000 a month in Samui, now you're $1,500. To live the lifestyle you're living today for $1,500 in Samui, what would it cost you in Austin, Texas?
Also a question that Chris asked me.
It's a must know.
Yeah, sure. Nowadays, I don't even know. Like I haven't been back for so many years. I would say comparable quality of life in Austin to Samui would probably be around $4,500 a month. Almost 4 times the cost. And then you're in Austin and there's just like a concrete jungle. You don't have easy access to beautiful beaches. All of the amenities that Samui provides, beautiful hotels, if you want to take a little staycation or something. Yeah, I mean, it's completely different. There's no comparison.
If you do it in the year, you're saying about $18,000 a year for Samui versus $55,000 a year.
Yeah.
Austin.
And I would say that would even be on the low end. 55,000 is probably a lot more than that, because a lot of people are making 100K and they're still just getting by. It's also this lifestyle creep too. The lifestyle creep where you make more, you spend more, and it just keeps going like that in a cycle.
I think that's happened in Toronto, where I'm from. If you're earning 100,000 Canadian dollars, after your tax rate, your take home is probably around 60 or 65.
Because of the taxes are exorbitant, huh?
Yeah. For the baby boomers, the answer is yes. But for millennials and Gen Zers, are you getting your money's worth with 35 to 40% tax rate?
I would say absolutely not.
Okay, when I remember growing up in Canada, when I grew up in the 90s, it was a well-known, publicized fact, whatever those sort of surveys, best place in the world to live, Canada was literally just number one.
Not Consumer Reports, something else.
Not Consumer Reports, the Quality of Life Index.
Okay.
Right, the literal Quality of Life Index for the globe. I think for a long time now, it's been sort of centered on Nordic places and maybe New Zealand. But in the 90s, it was every single year Canada was number one. And it supported huge waves, well-educated, well-funded immigration. So you had highly skilled, highly educated people immigrating to Canada and bringing their bank accounts with them. I've heard that what happened was they basically messed up the immigration numbers because they need immigration to sustain the economy. They blew it by locking down during pandemic. And then tried to just open the floodgates after pandemic. Canada has an immigration-based point system, and they essentially pushed it off to the side for a few years and sort of let anyone in.
And now they're pulling,
and they don't have services to provide for the people.
They're pulling their visa status. My friend Josh is a professor. He's my neighbor. He's from Vancouver, and he teaches for 3 universities in Canada. And he's now lost 2 of his jobs, so he's down to 1 now. And he's doing that remotely from Samui, which is kind of crazy to me. Hours are all flipped around. But he said almost all of his students are either from India or Hong Kong.
and they're paying higher tuition rates in Canada to pay for a prof who's now living in Thailand.
That's such a backward system.
That is such a broken system, right? How do you make your money abroad? How do you make money living abroad?
Yeah, so long story short, it's mostly just YouTube and Facebook. And that's actually what I talked about in my speech at Vietnam Nomad Fest, how I'm making money on Facebook and YouTube. And that they just pay me every single month.
I'm sure that the people watching this are more than intrigued by that. So Can you give them the sort of the Cole's notes or the 60-second abbreviated talk to which you delivered at Nomad Fest?
Well, first of all, I will say that it's taken me like 9 years to grow the following on Facebook. So not an overnight success by any means, but yeah, basically I can monetize my content. Similar to what you would be doing on YouTube, where the ads are running on your videos and you're just getting revenue every month. Facebook has a similar program, monetization program, where you can just get paid based on basically the number of views your content's getting. And if you're getting, you know, let's say millions of views every month, it can turn into a pretty decent amount. And it really kind of varies from month to month.
Is that video-based content, tutorials? Tell them, just imagine you're talking to someone who has no idea who you are, what you do. I mean, I certainly do, but you know, for the person who has no idea what the Mike Abroad business model is.
Yeah.
What is your content about Samui? What are you educating people on? Or
so it's not really educational content, it's more like entertainment. Essentially, a lot of my videos are just walking tours. Very simple. I don't do a lot of editing. I just, you know, take out my phone. This is how I shoot almost everything. Then I also have a little Pocket 3 here now as well, which is I'm going to be using more often. Just take out my phone and let's say I'm going for a walk on the beach, make a little video, 15 to 60 seconds, put it up as a reel. Sometimes it gets a lot of views, sometimes it doesn't get very many. Just doing something really, really simple like that, especially if you have a decent number of followers on Facebook, can do quite well.
Two food content guys who've spent a lot of time in Vietnam, Chris Lewis and Max McFarlane. You know, they both have huge followings on YouTube, but I know that both of them make more of their income off Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's because of where, like geographically, where their audience is located. Like in Vietnam, for example, the saturation of Facebook is very, very high. So where are most of your sort of viewers or your audience from?
Good question. So a lot of them are US, Canada, then also UK. A lot of them are watching from UK, Australia, Germany, these sorts of countries.
Okay.
And then also Thailand, of course, as well. But I would say the majority are from US.
I've also noticed when I look at your YouTube channel, at the Mike Abroad channel, sometimes when it comes up in my feed, you have a shop and you have book, like 3 books will come up right direct under your video. So
I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah, how does that work?
You can do this as well since you have over 10,000 subscribers. You can basically get into the YouTube shopping program. Then you can sell either your own digital products or affiliate products through like Lazada and Shopee.
Okay.
So I've played around with the affiliate products, but I wasn't getting any sales. So I just decided, why not just sell my own ebooks?
Okay.
So I put those up there now for sale. And they're about $20 an ebook.
Okay. And how's that going?
Not well.
Not well?
Not well, surprisingly. Getting a lot of views, like people checking out my site, but they're not actually buying the ebooks for some reason.
Interesting. And
so I think it's just going to take a while, like anything.
Well, what are the books on?
Well, one of them is Facebook Income Blueprint. That's basically how to monetize your content on Facebook. And then I got YouTube Success Blueprint, how to start and scale a YouTube channel, Digital Nomad Handbook, how to become a digital nomad.
Well, I guess so. Yeah, if any of you are interested literally in the logistics or sort of the back-end blueprint of what we've been talking about, definitely check out those links on Mike's channel. Check out one of his ebooks. Have you lived in any other countries than Thailand and the States?
Not full-time.
No.
So it's really just US, Thailand.
Okay.
Those are the only countries I've lived in long term.
So let's get into the pros of living in Thailand, maybe Samui specifically. And then after, you know, your top 3, you know, if you had to tell someone who's never been to Koh Samui, these are the 3 reasons why you need to come here right now.
I would say the 3 reasons to visit or even live as an expat in Samui. Number 1, the beautiful beaches. There's a lot of beautiful beaches. I live very close to Lamai Beach, which I would say is one of my favorite beaches on the island. And also delicious food, lots of different foods to choose from. I love Thai food. That's another reason. And then also number 3 is the friendly people. So everyone's generally speaking, very friendly in Thailand. I've found they're even more friendly here in Vietnam, surprisingly enough, which is hard to believe, but
I think there's still a stigma about Vietnam with Americans and to a lesser extent Canadians.
I just don't even say I'm American.
But especially like the baby boomer generation, there's a stigma about that, whereas because the population back home is so much older than here, they're more connected to that idea and that notion of Vietnam.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast. It was Ezra Klein and someone else, New York Times, a new book, and they were using the single word Vietnam, as in the name of the country, to refer to the Vietnam War.
Oh.
These are guys who are my age, right? Guys who are around 40 years old.
You said Vietnam.
This is something that happened. They're born. These are people who were born after the fall of Saigon. Is what I'm getting at, right? And they were going, well, when Vietnam happened, and then there was Vietnam, right? They were using a single word signifier.
They're just equating Vietnam to the war.
Correct. And I think that still happens with Americans. Whereas one, in Vietnam, that war is called the American War.
That's true.
For obvious reasons. It's not called the Vietnam War here. And two, there were other wars in Vietnam for the Vietnam before. And there were other wars after. That's not even the most recent land war, right? Like China invaded in 1986. So if you walk around Hanoi and talk to Hanoi, like, who's your arch rival? Who's your number one enemy? Or who's your sort of most competitive thing? They're all going to say China.
China, not America.
No one's going to have any reference to America.
So they've kind of just forgotten about it. It's in the past. They want to leave it in the past.
It's an elderly person thing.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. This year is the 50th anniversary of reunification of Vietnam, the 50th anniversary in 1975 of the fall of Saigon. And so I think it's something here that's really, looked on the way maybe World War II is at home, right? You're getting to the point where there's very few sort of
people that are even still alive that were in the war.
That's right. And so to hear
generational shift.
To listen to a podcast today, an American political podcast today on the New York Times, where they're referring to the Vietnam War, American War from 50 years ago as just Vietnam. Well, then when Vietnam having this, it was like, I respect Ezra Klein as a journalist in the New York Times.
I like his stuff.
But I'm also just like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Move on, man. It's like a historical obsession that's just... Anyways, there's my rant over from
I was walking through these rice fields the other day, and there's like a big cemetery there. So I walked through. It was a little depressing, but you could see people that died in the 40s and 20s.
Oh, you mean like
blast from the past?
The young people. Yeah. People also ask me about Agent Orange.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about that.
Short answer, the half-life is 50 years, and it's been 50 years. Actually, what about the cons of Samui?
Okay, cons. It's getting... I would say, like I was talking about before the interview, a little bit too overdeveloped now. It's a bit out of control, actually. They're just like knocking down all the palm trees and to build more villas, and big trucks coming through all the time. So I would say like overdevelopment is an issue for sure. And then also just the number of tourists coming to the island, getting more and more busy. And also cost of living is going up. Because more tourists that are coming can obviously rise the prices of rentals. And a lot of times you can't even find a place to stay now. It's just all fully booked, getting so busy.
I remember, having been to Bangkok on and off for 2 decades, going to Bangkok in 2023 or whatever, when it was the most visited city on earth. And it was
Still is.
Is it still? It was visibly noticeable. It was like, it felt like the equivalent to like being in Europe in summer. It was just like, there are more tourists here on Sukhumvit than there are Thai people.
Yeah.
Like in a literal way. And it's a massive city, not like a remote island like Samui, right? So
that's kind of how I feel about Koh Phangan, which is the next island over. It's a little bit more hippie. That's
the full moon party
is. And it just seems like there's all foreigners there. I sometimes refer to it as Koh Pharang.
Yeah.
Because Koh Pharang is the other word for foreigner.
Yeah, I like that.
And the only Thai people or Burmese people you see are like working in the kitchen or the hotel, but otherwise it's just all foreigners. So I don't like that so much.
I used to live in Mexico. That was the first place I lived abroad. And there on the coast especially, there are parts of Mexico like that. And you see me, it made me uncomfortable then, and it makes me uncomfortable now. It's an odd thing.
Yeah.
And I think parts of the Caribbean are like that too, right?
I would say for
parts
sure.
of the coast in Jamaica and Barbados, where it's like, what is this? What is this that's happening? So
yeah, Mexico too, like Tulum.
Yes, Tulum, exactly. That and Mujer de Isla, all that stuff.
Yeah.
How do you feel treated by locals and Thais on Samui? What is it? Do you feel tensions now as a Farang in Samui, or what do you?
I wouldn't say tensions, but I do see that the smiles are starting to fade a little bit of the Thai people, because they're just getting maybe a little bit sick and tired of the foreigners all the time. So that's one thing I've noticed. Like if you go into a 7-Eleven, there's a guy in there wearing no shirt, which is a little bit disrespectful to the culture.
Yeah.
But people do it all the time anyway. And then you see the cashier like at night, and she's just exhausted, right?
Yeah. That's tough.
That's one thing I'm noticing.
Yeah, maybe some burnout with the customer service culture.
Yeah, can start to see that creeping up.
We were talking a little bit about, the sort of tension, or whether it's there or not, about how locals feel with more and more foreigners or tourists around Samui. What do you think about how has the language barrier affected you? I know for my audience, they're always worried about that coming to Vietnam. For English-speaking foreigners, expats, retirees looking at Samui.
The language barrier is probably one of the biggest challenges that I have. It's just because, and I feel a bit guilty about this. I've been there 5 years, right? But I don't speak Thai. Just very, very basic. Sweaty ka, kambu ka, sabai di mai, these sorts of things. Very basic vocabulary. So yeah, the language barrier can be a bit challenging, but I would say nothing worse than here. In Vietnam, I would say a little bit better, actually, because most people speak passable English.
Well, and there's, especially on Samui, it's a tourism-based economy,
yes.
right?
And in the hotels, they all speak English.
And you've met a fiance somehow, so how did that come about? How did you make friends? How do you socialize or meet other people? And how do you start dating in Samui?
Sure. So I actually met Mary up in Chiang Mai.
Okay.
I had just finished a motorbike trip, and I was going through Tinder. And she popped right up, and then we really hit it off. So then I kept traveling back and forth between Bangkok and Samui, because she had a job in Samui, right? So she worked there full time. And then eventually I'm like, I really want to make this work. So I decided to move to Samui.
Okay.
Specifically to be with her. And she ended up quitting her job, finding a new job where she's happier now at a school, teaching little kids.
Beautiful.
So now we've been together 4 years.
So the
rest is history.
Yeah, and I feel like this is exactly why you do a long form interview, because it takes an hour to find out the real reason you moved to Samui.
Yeah.
Was because you
That's
fell
for sure
in love.
For a girl, of course. That's how it usually goes, right?
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. That is too good.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest misconceptions? Yeah, what are the biggest misconceptions about Thailand or Samui in particular that foreigners have before they get there?
Maybe they think it's going to be like just a paradise, right? No problems. But everywhere has its problems. So it's not.
What do you think? What are some of the struggles of living in paradise then for yourself?
First of all, it's kind of like I have a friend who's bought a condo in Samui. It's like almost $1 million for this condo, and he lived in the States for many years, and then he's originally from Poland actually, and now he's trying to sell that condo. Because he's not happy there. Even though it's got the most spectacular view you've ever seen, he's still not happy. He's told me before that he feels like he's living in a golden cage. That's how he explains it. And to me, it just doesn't make sense, right? It's like, you've got this amazing place, and he wants to sell it, right? So his reasoning for that is that it's just he feels cooped up, and it's a little bit hard to leave the island once you're there, right? They do have the international airport, but the flights can be a bit expensive unless you've got the resident card. So basically you live there full time, you have a house. And then the only other way to leave is to take a ferry to the mainland.
Okay.
So it can be a bit isolating, I guess.
Maybe like the feeling of living in a fishbowl, or
like a fishbowl, or maybe sometimes people get island fever.
Is he single?
Oh, this guy?
Yeah.
No, he's been married for 40 years. 50 years.
And his wife's there at the house?
Yeah, they're both Polish.
Oh, and they still don't.
Miserable too. I don't understand.
Yeah, I wonder, maybe it's
what?
Maybe it's an integration
More
thing.
money, more problems.
I think single or I guess couples too can feel really lonely when you relocate. I mean, my wife and I have felt the struggle of leaving Saigon to Da Nang and having to reincorporate into social life and stuff. So I do think that's real.
Golden cage.
I do like that. Yeah, I want to know the parameters of the cage. A friend whose father-in-law owns an absolutely spectacular millionaire-style villa in Samui, and
really?
He is a disgruntled individual.
Really? He's miserable?
Well, I mean, I'm getting the information second. God, I should edit this out.
Second
Secondhand from his son-in-law. But
you can't trust what he says.
So let's go to something a little bit more positive, or at least proactive.
Sure. change
For the
path
person who's sort of standing in the doorway, as Irene said in our last interview, and they're thinking about stepping through the doorway and making their first move abroad, actually starting living abroad.
Sure.
What would be a piece of advice for that person?
Well, like we mentioned earlier in the interview, I would say have a couple $1,000s saved up, preferably more than 10,000 is even better. That way you have something to fall back on if you run out. Like, I've run out of money a bunch of times in Thailand, and I just somehow, some way make more. But it's not for everyone, this entrepreneur path. I would recommend, just having some money saved up before you take off. Just, pick a place, right? Go to a place, try it out for 2 or 3 months, see what you think of the place. If it clicks with you, then you can stay there, or, worst case scenario is you just go back to your home country, try again another time.
If you've done the math to figure out what your monthly cost of living is going to be, and you have minimum 6 months to a year cost of living, enough to know that if it doesn't work out when you go to the place, you can return home and find work.
Exactly. And even better if you can have a remote job lined up or something you can do online.
100%.
That just, that checks all the boxes.
And again, that can be your pension or it can be dividends. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. The first step for me is, do you have income? If someone comes to me asking questions about relocating here or wants to consult, it's not a question for the consultation, it's a screener. Do you have income? If you don't have income yet, you're not ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Come on a trip. You're ready for a vacation or a scouting trip. You're not ready to move abroad if you don't have income. No.
Especially if you have no savings too. Then that's no income, no savings.
The double
you're
X.
Screwed.
Yeah, then you're gonna end up on Koh Samui Road.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Boy Bien Road in Saigon. Before we wrap up, I like to do a little thing at the end of the Cost of Living Abroad pod where I ask you as a guest, what's something I didn't ask you about your cost of living abroad, whether it's financial or emotional, that I can ask the next guest?
Oh, okay. Interesting. Do you feel like you made the right decision or not? In hindsight being 2020, would you do it over again, right? To actually leave and move full-time abroad?
One of the questions that I was asked, a guy named Eddie asked, and his interview isn't live yet. Eddie asked, what's the one, I'm asking you this for real, what's the one thing you're not doing that you know you should be doing right now?
Oh.
Yeah, that's the exact response I had when he said it. Right? I was like,
ooh, that's a tough one. Well, one thing is getting married. This is the one I keep putting off, keep putting it off. And there's really not that many excuses at this point.
Okay.
So that would be my answer, is just getting married.
That's a fantastic answer.
As a growing up person.
It's real. It's a life stage.
Stop procrastinating,
Yeah, it's a life stage and about your own sort of self-process and maturity, but it's also about, I think for a lot of Westerners too, it signals a shift where you go from friends or social life as priority, family, which is also a big East-West thing, right? In the East, family is always the most important social network, and I hope for you when you get married and maybe have kids or become part of your wife's family, that's something you really can embrace, Awesome.
Well, cool.
Thank you so much for coming on, Mike. That was great. Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Good talk. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you all so much for listening. Full interview is up here. You can click over my shoulder. You can subscribe to the Evan A channel, my main channel here, or the Cost of Living Abroad channel, where every Sunday night in Bangkok, a new episode goes live. We appreciate it, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with the people.
Thanks for having me on the show.